Hi, I'm Bart Loeser, and welcome to Speech Writing Made Easy. This is another one of our continuing education programs presented by Toastmasters District 55. I'm the program coordinator, and I welcome you to tonight's event. Today's agenda will be addressing three aspects of speech writing made easy. The first is choosing your topic. Secondly, how to organize and enhance your speech. And thirdly, sort of the final toppings, which is your beginnings and your endings. So this will be the first in that series, choosing your topic. Now, where do good ideas come from? A lot of newer Toastmasters struggle with, what will I speak about? And just to let you know, you can speak about just about anything, but there are a few ideas that I want to present to you that might make it easier for you. I want you to go ahead and take out a pad and pencil and begin to start targeting what kinds of topics that you could talk about, not just in your icebreaker, but in many of your coming speeches. So to target a topic, the most important thing you want to do is keep it simple and short. Because a speech is generally only 4 minutes to 6 minutes for an icebreaker and 5 to 7 minutes for your basic speeches, you can't say a whole lot in 5 to 7 minutes. You might be able to discuss 3 different aspects of a topic. So you'll want to keep it short and simple. Choose something also that you know well. Something that's very familiar to you, that if someone at a dinner party asks, oh, well, tell me more about that. You could easily do that, such as your work or education experiences, perhaps hobbies or habits that you notice about yourself. Another thing is personal experiences. Things that have happened in your life that are interesting to you or to other people. Observations that you have about people and things and life in general, as well as any successes or lessons learned. People always love hearing about things that you've tried, what worked, or more importantly, what didn't work, and how did you overcome that. That makes for a great speech. So in choosing something easy, you can also come up with incidences that have impacted you in your life, various different adventures that you've had. You might build from some favorite parable or story that you have. Now, you want to make sure that if you're competing, you don't want to, in your speech, talk about more than 25% where you're using that material from something else, because it has to be 75% original or more. But when it comes to your speeches in your club, they can be pretty much anything. Another thing you might discuss is a stance you want to take on a specific issue, something where you might want to persuade somebody. You can come up with a topic of current events. Right now, coronavirus and being stuck indoors is a big thing that's going on for most people. There's a lot of trends, though, that you can talk about, that you can find about anywhere in the news and on the internet. And that's one of the last great resources, is your newspapers, websites, magazines. Whether electronic or print media, you can find lots of great information that could make for a wonderful speech. When you do come up with the type of speech that you want to give, such as you want to talk about something in your life, you want to also focus on the purpose of your speech. Generally, there are 4 major purposes to speeches. You're either speaking to inform people, or you're speaking to persuade people to your way of thinking. This is one reason why all of us are leaders and want to build leadership skills, because we want to persuade people in our direction to think more like the way we're seeing it. Another thing you might want to do is motivate people. So being able to motivate people is an important part of speaking. And the last piece of a purpose that you might consider is entertainment. Notice, out of informing, persuading, motivating, and entertaining, they're all equally important. And actually, if you can incorporate all of those into your speech, you have the perfect speech. This has been part 1 of Speech Writing Made Easy, how to choose your topic. Next, we will focus on organizing your speech. Join us for that next. Welcome back. I'm Bart Loeser. Welcome back. I'm Bart Loeser with another part of Speech Writing Made Easy, part 2, organizing your speech. Welcome back. I'm Bart Loeser, program coordinator for Toastmasters District 55's continuing education program. Welcome to part 2 of 3 of Speech Writing Made Easy, how to organize your speech. In the previous video, we showed how to choose a topic and what options you might have for that. And in this particular session, we will focus on organizing and enhancing your speech. When you're organizing your speech, there are 4 basic ways that you can organize a speech. One is through chronology, which is according to time. Might be something that happened like what happened in the past, what happened in the present, what happened in the future, but a time-based sequence. Secondly, you might organize by space. This could be physical space, directional relations. So these are different ways in which you organize, where you might talk about different aspects of the human body, let's say. Well, first we're going to talk about the heart, and then we'll talk about the mind, and then we'll talk about the gut, and how all 3 of those are important ways in which you make decisions. So this would be spatially. You might also organize by topic or category, such as components or elements of some particular topic. So I might talk about my vacation, and when I was talking about my vacation and what made it such a great vacation, it was how I saved money for this great vacation, how I chose this great vacation, and how I implemented the great vacation. So that might be topic. Or it could be sequence, which you could actually take that topic and do it sequentially, but it's a dramatic retelling of the events in sequence of some sort of order. That's another way in which you can organize your speech. But once you've chosen this, you want to figure out how you're going to enhance this speech. So when you want to take the enhancement, it's like taking the skeleton, the bones of your speech, and putting the meat on it. How do you really dress it up and make it even more interesting? There's 3 primary ways in which you enhance your speech. First of all, you can add emotion. People can relate to emotions. Emotions are probably the most common communicator that we all have as human beings, because we all get emotions. If you feel sad, happy, angry, hurt, we all know what those emotions feel like. So it's a connecting tool that you can use to be able to grab people's attention and hold that attention. Another way to enhance your speech is by adding humor. Now, you do have to be careful when you're adding humor, because everybody finds different things funny, and not everybody will agree. And besides, who gets to decide whether or not you're funny? You or your audience. So always get feedback and test out your humor, but people love humor in a speech. Now, I could do a whole seminar just on how to add humor, but you can find lots of great information on the Toastmasters website. As a matter of fact, humor is one of the 11 paths that you can choose in Pathways. And so you could actually choose to work on that as an entire path. But there's lots of great resources out there that can help you to build more humor. I actually went online to explore an example of redirection or misdirection, where you lead your audience in a direction where they think they know where you're going, and then you hit them with something they didn't expect. These are great ways to make people laugh. For example, one of my favorite comedians is Jon Stewart from The Daily Show. And Jon once said during a holiday, "I celebrated Thanksgiving in the old-fashioned way. I invited everyone out to my house, and then we had an enormous feast. And then I killed everyone and took their land." Now, Jon has this wry sense of humor to get his point across, but if your audience finds something funny, you want to go with what they would find funny. The third way to enhance your speech after emotion and humor is to illustrate and decorate your speech with 3 different tools: analogy, allegory, and alliteration. Let's just give an example of what these are. Analogy is comparing 2 different things, such as in Forrest Gump in the movie, life is like a box of chocolates. Again, comparing 2 different things, life and chocolates, and also can be funny. Allegory is where you take some hidden meaning or moral of a story to present something so it's not quite so direct, such as the tortoise and the hare from Aesop's Fables. That particular story was trying to demonstrate, without directly saying it, the value of staying the course, being on task, staying focused, and slowly keep moving forward versus being full of yourself and moving fast and going too fast. And so it was all about the values and teaching values to someone. The third tool is alliteration. Now, this is where you're repeating sounds. It's what I like to use when I'm sometimes coming up with a speech title. I like using alliteration to get people's attention. But you could do something such as tall tales or Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Those are alliteration tools that you can use to enhance your speech. So there's all sorts of things that you can do that makes your speech more powerful, but nothing enhances your speech more than the vocal elements and the visual elements. This is vocal variety and body language. So one of the aspects of vocal variety you want to do is you can use these vocal elements to emphasize. You can use pacing, where you can slow down how you're speaking. Sometimes when I'm nervous, I tend to speak very fast. And so one thing that'll get me to slow down a little bit is to think about enunciating my words. So I think about pronouncing my words more carefully, and that tends to slow me down. Another aspect that is vocal elements are dramatic pauses, which can be used instead of saying those ums or ahs, just say nothing. Don't let any sound come out, and people will have time to absorb what you just said, and it seems like you're thinking. Another thing you could do is if you got lost in your speech and you were trying to remember, where do I go from here? You just pause. Your audience doesn't know what's going on, and all they know is that they're just listening to you, and then they're waiting to see where you're going with this. So the pause is a powerful tool that you can use that enhances your speech vocally. The visual elements are unique, especially when we're online, because we're doing a lot of virtual meetings. And so you've got to be aware of the space you've got to work with. If you're going to do a lot of gestures, you don't want to do anything that's going to be outside of your space. That's something, so you got to work within the space you've got. Here I've got this long space, this tall space, so I can reach up, but I can't come out too far. So I want to make sure to be careful about where my spacing is. So, and when I'm using gestures, you also, like here, I'm not using a camera, so I don't want to come up too close to the camera. I'd want to keep my gestures back here. But when you're speaking in general to your audience, you can do wide sweeping gestures as long as they fit the purpose of why you're doing that gesture, such as, well, the first thing I want to talk about, that works very well. Now, you also have to be careful of not doing things such as, well, the first thing I want to talk about is, you want to use the right gestures. And of course, think about your positioning, where you're going to be when you're speaking to your audience, and how you're going to move. You might move to a certain place to express yourself. Let's say, for instance, in the past, I'll talk about this and I'll walk over to this space and talk about it. And then I might talk about where I want to be in the future and speak over on this side. And then when I'm talking about the present, I might keep myself right here, and I can refer to the future. I could refer to the past. So, which would be over here. So these are things that we can do, and it's called movement and positioning. So this has been how to enhance your speech. Next, we're going to be focusing on beginnings and endings in part 3 of 3 for speech writing made easy. Welcome back. I'm Bart Loeser, and I'm the program coordinator for Toastmasters District 55's continuing education program. In this series, we are focusing on speech writing made easy, and this is our final piece, part 3 of 3, beginnings and endings. We first spoke about how to choose a topic that's going to be interesting to your audience that works well for you. Then we focused on organizing and enhancing your speech in the second piece, and in this third piece, we'll be focusing on beginnings and endings. When you're beginning your speech, you generally don't want to have to worry about that until you've already written the body of your speech and enhanced that speech. Once you've got the basic speech down, the body of that speech, you might think about how you're going to open it. Great ways to open your speech is to tell a story, or you could make some sort of bold statement that expresses your point of view, your POV. You might also ask a question. Who here has ever had this happen to you? Or do something that'll get the audience to laugh. People love the ability to find humor at the very beginning. It grabs their attention. Or you can ask the audience, imagine this, and then set the tone for where you are, what's happening. Make them feel that environment that you're in. So get them to visualize that. These grab your audience at the beginning. You also want to wait till after you finished your speech to write your conclusion. In your conclusion of your speech, you want to review the points that you made and perhaps give a call to action, call back to something that you spoke about, or encourage people to take action if that's applicable. You also can refer to how you opened your speech. I always think that's the perfect ribbon on top of the present, is to refer back to how you opened it, like you might have begun to tell a story, but you might not have finished that story, and you save that piece for the conclusion. And then you want to close with impact, something that has some power that will leave people remembering what your point was. What was this all about? What am I supposed to do with this? So what impact does that have for your audience? These are things you want to work on after you have created your speech. And then once you've done all of this, thinking about how it all fits together, then you want to choose a clever title. So of course, you want to choose a title that would be easy for others to pronounce so that when you're being introduced, it's not hard for them. Another thing is keep it simple. As a matter of fact, you want to keep it short and simple, or KISS your title. Keep it short and simple. I know some people come up with these really, really long titles, and it can be a little bit confusing. So keep it simple. Another thing is make sure it's a title that hooks your audience. It gets them to think, what's he mean by that? Well, that sounds interesting. So I like a title to be something interesting that almost has people questioning and encouraged to follow where I'm going with that. Now, you also want to have something that might relate to the topic, because if you choose a title that has no relation to the topic, in the end, people will be wondering, what did that have to do with your topic? So you want to always try to figure out something that's going to relate to the topic, but keep it fun. I know that seems like a lot, and I want to review with you the takeaways from this last piece here. First, we wanted to focus on how to begin our speech after we've written the body of the speech, and you want a beginning that grabs their attention and their interest. And then you want to finish with something strong and clear, a clear conclusion that makes it obvious to your audience, you're done. It's that, like the bow on top of the gift, we're done with that. And then create a title that will also make them curious for more and keep them engaged at the very start. So I want to thank you again. My name is Bart Loeser. I am the Continuing Education Program Coordinator, and I'm always happy to get your feedback. So if you wouldn't mind giving me some feedback at my email address at tmbartloeser@gmail.com. And you can find more information about our continuing education classes at Toastmaster District 55 or tmd55.org. And we have them generally on the second, third, and fourth Tuesdays as our basic classes for learning how to get started in Toastmasters. So thank you for your time and attention.